Hello, welcome to another Save Your Books streaming live video doing book restoration live without a net, just for you. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, so I've got my chat on. I think it's correct this time. Please feel free to make comments, or if you have questions, like what are you doing to that book? I'm here for you for that. And let's see, I'll show you where we're at right now. Emily of New Moon. So it's nice when it just looks like this. And what you can see is that the cover is not back onto the text block yet. And that's what we're going to do today. Everything else has been done. I did a little bit of behind the scenes. I repaired the corners. I have a course on repairing corners if you want to look that up. Oh, Junkman, howdy. Nice to see you here. Yeah, so some other things I did while you weren't here. Sorry, I couldn't help it. I did some color touch-up on the original spine. I matched the blue, and that's what this blue is here. The spine. Oh, I'll switch. Let's try the other camera. I think this might work better. Yeah. So this is a brand new piece. This is the original. This is the brand new piece. And the original spine had faded quite a bit. And so I've used some of the acrylics, which I matched. And I did color touch up here. I used a brush with very watered down acrylics. And then the gilt of the gold stamping of the title was very much faded. And even before I started doing the color touch up, I decided to use my shell gold, which is it's really expensive gold. Like I think this, and you can see it's almost empty. This is a tiny little cake of gold, like you get fancy watercolors. It just looks like a blob in the bottom of this. It's lasted a really long time, relatively speaking, because I don't use it all that often. But this might be $100 just for a tiny little bit of gold, because it's real gold. The reason you might want to use real gold versus, for instance, here is another kind of paint thing that, I don't know, I found when I was cleaning out a junk drawer at my mom's house. So I'm like, I don't even know where it came from. It's number 220 gold from Pelkin, Germany. So it's a kind of a paint. And the main difference between, that and this is this probably contains no actual gold whatsoever. This is actual gold. And this is very coppery colored. And so you can kind of see it's like, what are you trying to match? And I held it up to the original stamping and was just like, this is not right at all. So I went with this. There are other ways. I actually have a course on touching up gilt lettering on my website, saveyourbooks.com. That is available, and it talks about like those gold pens, how you may or may not want to use those. So there's just a lot of things. And the way I use the gold is you just get a little bit of water in here, and with a very fine liner brush, you can see, let's see if you can see, where is the camera? Yeah. Very narrow tipped brush, and I actually trimmed the edge off so it was a little angled. Anyway, so you do that, and then you get your close-up glasses on, or a magnifying light, so you can actually see what you're doing, and you do a little bit of touch-up. I'm actually not quite done with all of the touch-up yet. Let's see if I can show you. Yeah. There we go. That's pretty good. Yeah, so I've done some. New is not really done yet. The thing is that the stamping has created an impression. There's a depression in the fabric. And if you're very careful and looking really closely, you can actually just get the gold right in there. And if it spills over, you can clean it up. Sometimes I'll just clean up the excess that has, if the gold is a little too wet, it tends to spill out of those little depressions. And you can just kind of clean it up with that because it's not stuck on very well. So anyway, between the gold touch-up and the blue paint, I feel like this came out really well. It's going to look so good when it's all done. And because this is the original material, in order to help preserve it, I used paste and attached this black tissue to the back. And then I sanded the edges, beveled them so that when it goes on, it's supported and preserved. And if it ever had to come off of this and go back on again, it could easily do that because the tissue here would help it to separate again. Although it's also going to help keep it together in one piece and on the book when we're done. So there's all of that. Behind the scenes, let's see. All right, so but the main point today is to put this in this and make them be one thing. And to kind of get ahead of this here, I wound up doing this side, getting it prepared. And the things that you have to do to get it to be in this state are that you need to trim all this down so that it'll fit neatly underneath the end paper flap here. So I did all of these, glued them together. These are not original materials. PVA is absolutely fine to use for this. And I made sure that it would fit in here, that I have plenty of room underneath here for this to go in there. What did I want to say about that? Right. You really actually want there to be as wide as this is, and this hinge is 5/8 of an inch. You want the space in here to be at least another 1/4 of an inch. So 5/8, 1, 2. So you want 7/8 right here. And I think that's pretty much exactly what I have. And the reason for that is partly that you don't want to have a breaking point here. So like the further in here you go, the better. But also if you put the glue in and you put this in and it's all just forced into that one thing and it only opens to this width, you tend to get a lump right there. And you just, let's avoid the lumps. Why put lumps in your book? It's just not nice. Oh, another thing you may have noticed is that this end paper is brand new. And the one that was here had a great big stain on it. And I was like, you know what? I feel like I can match that paper pretty easily. And I mean, if you see, this is a really good match. This is one of the antique end leaf papers that you can get from Tallis, which is at tallisonline.com. This might be the Dove Gray, which is my usual favorite go-to for antique books, but they also have many other like really appropriate colors for old books. So that's my go-to place for that. So before I get going, it's nice to just do a dry run. And what I mean by that is like you put it all in place without any glue and then you press it. So yeah, and I actually did all that before, pressing it using some pressing boards. Actually I used the boards with the skewers. So it just presses into the French joint. This is the French joint where it has an indentation right here. And you just really just let it have the shape ahead of time, because it's so much easier, because before I had done that, this was really flat, super flat. It didn't have this curve, and now it does. It's kind of like, I'm ready to go. Get me on that book. So I'm like, should I trim this first, or should I just get this side attached? I'm going to trim this first. I'm going to get everything ready. Sometimes I will attach one side, let it dry completely, so that I don't have to worry about it moving or doing anything weird, and then I'll do the other side. But you know, it's faster to do both and then press it and then check it and all that. It's really just a matter of how nervous you are about it going well. And so whenever I'm nervous about things going well, and you would be surprised at how often that actually happens, I actually do worry that I'm going to do it wrong, or something's going to go wrong, or like the paste will soak through in a way that I wasn't expecting, or I have literally woken up in the middle of the night and gone, I have to go check on that book, and I'll run out to my shop, open the press, and just go, is it still okay? Like it is the hinge working like it should while it's still drying? And you know, sometimes I've actually saved things like, oh, a wrinkle had started that I didn't notice earlier, and so it's nice to just, you know, check on that in the middle of the night when you're having nightmares about your books. So, all right, so I'm going to come back to hands-on. I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. I am going to trim all of these things, these little new hinge flap things, and they're going to go under there, and I'm just kind of going, okay, how wide do I want this? It's nice to have different steps, like have the mull be slightly less maybe, or actually keep the mull. That's a good length for the mull. I like that for the mull. So instead of that, I'm going to go below the mull for these sewing tapes. And yeah, and this tissue is so thin that I don't need to worry about it being another stepped area. In most bookbinding, you would just have, in most bookbinding, you would just have one thing. You'd have the mull, and then you'd have your end sheet. So you actually do have to like attach the mull to the end sheet and then put it down. But, oh, and actually in this case, I did double extra strength because I was concerned about the mull showing underneath my Japanese tissue. So I did one sheet of Japanese tissue that is just a plain, and then I used a bit of the Japanese tissue that I tinted to match the old papers better. And that's another course that I have available on the Save Your Books website, is tinting Japanese tissue so that it can match old papers. That one doesn't have a video. It's really very straightforward. Just read what I wrote with the pictures. So there we go. There's all that. So I'm just going to get a bit of waste paper. Magazine thing. Get my PVA, which should, you know, it's nice. It stays flexible, which is a great reason to use it for this. Make sure that's not moving around. If you think that this is going to move around, it's, you know, just put a weight on it. So it's definitely not going to move around. All right, and then I can do a light layer of this. I'm attaching, you know, a sheet of Sakishu to another sheet of Sakishu right here. There we go. And then I'm just going to get the tapes. I'll get the rest of the area. It's actually, sometimes I'll glue the mull. It's because because it has a starch, it tends to you know, avoid getting the glue into it. So it's nice. Sometimes it's nice to just glue it directly. It's a little messier for sure, but it's easier to avoid having too much glue. Sometimes, just depends. And then I'm making sure that it's thoroughly glued. There's all the glue there, but not a ton of squeeze out. Now my hands are covered with glue. Oh, I was wondering if you've been asked about the waste paper properties and where you find lots of sources to get them. Oh, waste paper. Gosh. Well, I mean, I'll typically just use catalogs or magazines that I have sitting around. But another thing that is really a great go-to for me is I buy a giant roll of butcher paper that is, hi, I feel like when I'm talking to you, I should be up here. So yeah, I actually have a giant roll of butcher paper that has like that waxed or plastic side on one side. And it's not that expensive. And then you just rip off a sheet. You get one of those holders if you feel like you really need a lot of waste paper around. It's also great for like a clean tabletop suddenly. That's one of my favorite go-to waste papers is that butcher paper that has the waxed or plastic side to it. This is from the New Yorker. I had it sitting around. So that's what I had, and I was like, that's what I'm going to use. So yeah, but whatever you do, don't use anything that will bleed, and not real blood, but like colors. So if you have newspaper, that will not work very well because you might transfer colors. Well, it's just not great in general. For waste paper, brown paper bags, grocery bags, perfect. Chop them up, make a little stack of waste paper. That would be good. Yeah, that's it. Just whatever's around, make sure that it won't hurt the book you're working on. All right, I'm gonna go back down here. So now that I've got that, and in my last video, I talked about keeping the square of the book, the edges. This is called the square, the part of the cover that is exposed below the text block. Keeping them even. I mean, now I'm at the point now where I'm going to, put everything together. Oh, and before I do that, I forgot. This is the moment of secret messages. So you can write on your books. You can write on this part. You can write on this part. You could write a lot between the two of them. Let me see. Here's my little archival pen. Oh, that's a tiny pen. These are great for color touch-up. In fact, I might use this later. There's a few little tiny black lines that I'm like, oh, I could just, complete the line using these pens, these micron pens. Ah, that's better. This one is the 08. Yeah, the 01 is so thin. Oh, you're welcome. And so I've got an 08, a little thicker. You can actually write something with it. And now I'm going to write something. So it's kind of nice to write on here. I'm going to go write live. Ooh, my pen is getting old. Live streaming YouTube. Now, isn't this fun? Somebody's going to find this later and they can look up this video and see that it was written. So that's amazing. Live streaming YouTube. Oh gosh, what is the date today? May 30th. May 30th, 2024. All right. I mean, what else do I have to say? They can look that up on, I'll just write save your book so they can find the channel. And then I'll just do my little signature. So there we go. Oh, members' names would be a great list inside a book that has been restored online. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, it's hard to pronounce your name. Agent Crew. Agent Crew? Yeah. Oh gosh, I should put your name in here. That's so cool. Hello. Happy to catch the script. Oh, thanks, Chaos Mensch. That's so cool. Anyway, maybe that can be, yeah, that could be, if you join my YouTube thing, I will do that next time. That'll be amazing. For my next book, I'll write a list of people's names in here. That's so fun. Okay, well, and you guys don't even know, I have not chosen my next book I'm going to restore yet. Or I'll come back up here. Hi. I haven't chosen it. I'm actually thinking about going up to the Rose City Book Fair, which is coming right up. If you live in Portland, you should definitely go to this book fair. It is the most friendly, welcoming for everybody, great for beginning book collectors, and really fancy book collectors as well, because there are some amazing books that are going to be there. So yeah, do go to the Rose City Book Fair. Oh, okay, yeah. Anyway, thank you. But yeah, I'm gonna pick my new book. I'm probably gonna go up there and look around and see what, maybe they have a book that needs a little bit of repair that I really like, and that's where I'm gonna get my next book. So join in. Oh, Portland, Portland, Oregon. I live in Eugene, Oregon, so it's just a 2-hour drive to get up there. Yeah, East Coast guy. I've hardly ever been over there. It was an amazing trip, though, when I did go over there. Okay, so I wrote stuff. I could write more stuff, but I'm not going to. All right, so now I have these 2 flaps ready, and I'm just getting it set. Let's see, I'll go back down here. All right. Here we go. Double checking everything. Check a million times to make sure the book is right side up. Just check again. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Chaos Mensch. A lot of book binders, when they were making, yeah, no worries. When they were making books, would use the waste paper from the printers, printer waste. And so it is bits of other books that didn't get used that get put onto the spine liners. Ooh. Be aware, that was still sticky. Oops, there's a mistake. This was still sticky and I got distracted by your comments. Anyway, glad you're there. I'm just wiping that off, and now I'm going to get some of my, make sure it's not stuck together. Get some waste paper. I like to use baking parchment. I buy it in sheets and then I chop it up. There is a stream almost every Thursday. I cannot get here every single Thursday, but I've been trying, and I think it's at least been every other one. And as it gets easier to just get this done, it's going to be easier to just keep going with that. So, oh, Canada. Wow, that's far away. That's a place I'd like to go. I used to live in Minnesota, and I went to Canada a couple times. Just north. You're just from Minneapolis. It's a bit of a drive, but yeah. So because this side is already wet with the glue, I'm just going to do this side. I typically do the rear of the book before I do the front of the book. Oh, you're in Germany? My brother lives in Berlin, or in Weissensee, wherever that is, near Berlin. That's a kick. All right, so this will be that, and it's nice to have an extra piece ready. in case this piece gets glued in a way I don't want it to be, I have this piece ready. Sometimes, once again, if I'm worried about how it's going to go, I will do this and put this aside so that I'm just gluing this to the bottom, and then because if you do it wrong, you can undo it fairly easily by just lifting that off. So that's a thing you can do if you're worried, which I'm not that worried for this one. So I'm just gonna go for it. And hopefully, I don't know, I mean, hopefully for you guys, I'll make a horrible mistake and show you how to undo it. But hopefully for me, I won't. And then we can move on and figure out what the next book is gonna be. All right, yeah, so I am glue both sides. But yeah, and so once again, if you're worried, don't glue all the way back in there. I'm not that worried because I did that dry run earlier, and so everything is in shape. The cover just wants to hold the book. It's getting ready. All right, and I'll get a little bit, because this is the hinge area right here. And this has a bunch of glue in it already, kind of. I mean, it's still damp from the glue, but you really want it to stick together. This is your chance. So I've got, oh yeah, right, so waste paper, throw that away, and I am going to use this. All right, so far, it's lined up square. Yeah, I know, both sides. And what I want to do now is I actually want to have some weight on this. Well, I'm just going to flip this up. I'm pushing it in to where I want it to be. Case-bound books are typically made by just closing the cover on top of it and then pressing in the joint. But when you're restoring it, and you have a flap here and everything, it's nice to kind of get it started. And this is really important. You kind of push the board in toward the book, and that's why you have the brick on. Otherwise, you'd be pushing the text block right off. Okay, and now I'm like, okay, it's looking good. I feel like it's looking good in there. Now you have to decide, am I going to glue this part flap down right now or later? And maybe I'll do this one. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it now. This is, oh gosh, there's so many things I want to tell you guys. It's like, if you use paste to put this back down, because it is an original material, and if this were an illustrated thing, you would definitely use paste. I actually cleaned out my paste jar. Now here it is. Let's see. I've got a little bit of paste in here, so I can get that. It's nice because it's reversible, but if it gets really damp from all of this moisture I'm putting in here, it could cause, and this is just a weird thing, the original glue is this animal glue, typically from this era. It's got a color to it, and that animal glue can reactivate, and it can be forced through the paper, and then you get a stain. So you get a dark stain, which really is not good, and there's not a lot you can do for that other than, coloring it. I'm keeping an eye on the square all the time, gently pushing everything down, making sure that that's gonna not be a bunch of wrinkles, basically. So it's all really wet right now, and I'm just setting that down in there. Well, I happen to have this. I'm just going to press that in there. Don't know where my skewers went. Double checking it again before I do any more pressing. And now, come back up here. So now, in order to help it, once again, to go along, you could do the other side and then put it up in the press. I really like to break it down and do one thing at a time, just to kind of double check things. And oh, and on the bottom, you don't need, well, actually you kind of do. To make sure everything stays where it belongs, I've got my lipped boards. You can get these made at a steel, what do they call those things? I forget. Anyway, they bend steel for you. It's awesome. I had a countertop made that I really like. So, got this. Yeah, the lip is too big for the book. If you put this in here without these boards, you could literally cut through the book and destroy what you had just done. So don't do that. And I'm trying to decide, let's see. Oh, let's go back down here. I could go put it up in the press, but I feel like it really just needs a little pressing. This brick, a little bit of weight, kind of like that's all I need to do. That's all I would really do with the press. So let's just take a look at that again. I'm getting a little bit of a wrinkle right here. Hold this up so you can see. It's not a big deal. But that is the kind of thing that I'm looking for. And that's maybe something that I can fix with this micro spatula. Great. And I'm also noticing that this doesn't want to stick. The paste itself wasn't enough. I frequently have to do this. The paste is getting most of it, but the very edge, I tend to need a little bit of PVA to keep it from popping up again. So like 1/8 of an inch on the very, very edge. It's stronger than paste. So there's a reason to use it. Okay, and yep, that's still good. Make sure that's all the way in there. Handy dandy knitting needle. All right, and boy, yep, that's what I'm going to do for now. And then you leave it on here because you want it to stay and have that indentation. So we're just going to leave that there. Yeah, this step is always, this step is always a little nerve-wracking or wrecking, whatever. Anyway, I'm just going to say, it's like, yeah, I'm feeling a little nervous and I'm doing this live. So still hoping I don't mess it up. All right, let's see here. When you cut something and you know you don't have a straight edge, neither one of these has straight edges, you just fold it because then you have a straight edge. Okay, last chance to say anything nice in here. Nah, it's fine. Everything's good. I'm going to glue this part now. Here we go. We are so close to, oh wait. I'm just going to check one more time to make sure it's right side up. I know it's crazy. The front is over there. This is the back. It is correct. I swear, you do that. You do it one time, you get it upside down. You will check every 5 minutes just because. Oops. I'm at a little bit of an awkward position here because I'm trying to show the camera. So I got a little glue right here, which is where you do not want glue. Don't put any glue on the spine of the text block or the spine of the cover. Neither one, just in the hinge areas and reattaching all of the, actually that was a good thing I didn't show it to you, but a little bit of the cardboard, the binder's board had flapped down, so you have to make sure you get in between all the flaps. Yeah, thanks. Even after all these years, there is still nerves. And it's one of the reasons I'm so slow at doing book restorations is because I'll take it in little steps just to avoid mistakes. Okay. Still need a little glue right there. One of those little binder's board flappy things is happening. When that happens, you kind of just encourage it to do as much as it needs to do and then let it go. I'm trying to lift it up to be one with the flap. Okay, that's pretty good. I'll get this piece ready. This will be my waste paper, the throwaway bit. Yeah, so waste paper, you can use magazines. I had this out already, so I was just like, oh, let's use this. Although baking parchment, definitely more expensive than an old magazine you had sitting around. All right, just throw that away. This is it. I've already checked a million times that it's not upside down. One of the bad things about gluing this flap all together ahead of time is that it's really not flexible right now. It's fighting me to get down. You see, it's just like, no, I want to be up here. That's where you put me before. So it is nice to just glue in the moment and then attach it because it will be more flexible. Yeah, I'm really having to fight that. It needs to be informed that its new shape is going to be like this. It's like telling it, go that way. All right, just checking the tackiness of the glue, adding a little bit more. If I was concerned about this moving around or whatever, you could add some methyl cellulose to increase the slip time of the PVA. But it's such a specialty item, methyl cellulose. You're not going to get that at a regular art supply store necessarily. So it can be also just using some paste mixed in can be fine, just for more slip time. Look at how much that's fighting me. Just keeps wanting to pop back off again. And I'm really glad to have this helping me hold the book in place. It's sitting in that French groove and making it work really well. So, okay, I think at this point it just needs a nip. I think it's in good shape. All right, so I'm gonna, yeah, it's really, That is something I'm never going to do again. I really don't recommend having the flaps glued up ahead of time. And every time I'm pressing on this, I'm just going, does the spine look curved correctly? How is this going? Yeah, just, once again, we'll take a slight little break. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. You feel like, what if I do it wrong? What if it doesn't go well? Kind of ironing it with my brick. Metal fabricators. Yes, that is exactly it. I love metal fabricators. They do some amazing things. All right, so I pressed it gently, kind of looking at it here, pressing the board in. My hands on. Pressing the board in this way while I'm holding the text block. Checking for wrinkles. Let me get my Teflon folder. It's another thing you can get at Talus. The Teflon folder. They don't pay me to say that, but they are putting some of my videos on their website, which is super cool. So I've just used them for, over 20 years, and I think they're awesome for a supply place. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm like, okay, that's holding. It's not doing weird things. I can put that in there now and be pretty confident that, may as well check this side. Yep, that's going pretty well. Good. It's like you want the cover to be able to open without popping up the fly paper, the end sheet that is the fly leaf, fly paper. That's hilarious. Okay, I am actually going to put this in the press now for a minute. And while that's in there, I'll show you some of the gold touch-up that I can do on the spine that I was doing yesterday that I'm going to do a little bit more of. Okay, so that was just a little bit of a turn. I don't want to do that too strongly. You can damage things by pressing that too hard when you have the lipped boards in there. Okay, so back down here, what have I got? I've got a little board I can support that with, and I wonder how to zoom in on this. Okay, new thing I need to learn, how to zoom in with the camera. It's a good question. Well, you can probably zoom in with your devices, so I'll let that go for now. I got my gold. If you missed the very beginning of this live thing, I was talking about using the real gold. This is shell gold, and it's almost all gone. But I'm pretty sure I bought another little cake of this, so it's probably in my drawer somewhere. I didn't want to run out. So, being real gold, it tends to have the right coloration for, early gilt titles and things like that, and edges, the edges of books. All right, so I got my close-up glasses, and That's better. There you go. So you can see Emily of New Moon. We need to lean into our monitors. Okay, great. So yeah, I've done a lot of the touch-up already. Basically, the word new has not been touched at all yet. And so the N was really smushed. It was really hard to see what was kind of going on with it. But another tip, this is kind of a weird tip, turn your title upside down in order to do any touch-up, because you need to get out of your head about what an N looks like. You need to get out of your head about how a W should go. You need to go, what is actually here, and look very carefully for just the indentations. And if you don't know what your brush does, or like, how it's going to work, you should test it out. So I have a sense of what that's going to do with my little bits of gold. And if I have too much gold on there, look at how much wider of a line that is. Like, that's much wider than I'm going to want. So, not sure you can see. How do I get up to the camera? Yeah, there's a little blob on the end of that tip. And so I will scrape that off, kind of try and flatten it out to make it so this is what I'm going for. This is a really good line. So now that I know how much of the gold to get on the brush and what to look for, the little blob at the end of it, yeah, turn it upside down. Thank you, Brad Narala, my art teacher from, I don't know how long ago, high school. That was one of the things he taught me. Turn it upside down. I am literally holding my breath while I'm doing this. Okay. It's not the end of the world if it gets onto the blue. I can fix that. There, I got a little bit on the blue. All right, I'm going to set that aside, get my little, I'm just using a pokey thing all. And you're just kind of like, oh, that's a little off. I'm going to just kind of put it back into the thing. Yeah, I got it transferred to my finger. So that's kind of good. I really want to get that E because I can't see. Can't see the word new very easily. And I'm always going to go for less is more. Like, when in doubt, just stop for a little while. I've lost my gold transferring, so get a little more on there. It's just such a funny thing to just be filling in. Oh, I really want to get that L. That's what I usually do. It's like I'll take a step back, look at how it's going, and see what's bugging me the most, and just fill that in next. So that's going along. Great thing is that I can do more of this once the book is completely restored. So Where did I learn to restore books? Boy, well, okay, so I've been doing this a lot. I went to the American Academy of Bookbinding in Telluride. Come back up. Hi, I make diploma up there. There's my diploma. They had a book conservation specific course for a while with Don Etherington as the main teacher, but he stopped teaching there. And while they do teach some conservation classes still within that, they're really book art focused right now. But you can learn a lot. Probably the best place to go to learn in person and get like the education and go on and do this for real would be the Bennett Street School on the East Coast. That would be a wonderful experience. Before that, I mean, I was bench trained with David Weinstein down in North Hollywood, California, and he had started which bindery? He was with Heritage. Yeah. And anyway, he studied at the London College of Printing. So I've just been doing this a really long time. I started out getting a job at the University of Minnesota bindery, where I just did terrible things to books. I mean, you can at the bindery, they were just ripping book covers off and throwing them away and then putting ugly library book covers on. But I learned how to do a lot of things, case making, and that's where I discovered book conservation, because there's one person over in the corner doing all of that. Get that light out of the picture. God, sorry, trying not to blind y'all. So yeah, I'm gonna check on the book now. It's been a few minutes. Let's see how Emily's doing. All right, change camera angle. Okay, yeah, that's looking good. A little squeeze out right there. Clean that up. Fingernail. Ah, yeah. Pretty happy with that. I don't see any squeeze out on that, so I'm like, that's still safe to leave in there. Check the other side. See how I'm pushing down here and pressing in. So while I learned in person, this is looking great. Yay! Let's put the spine on and call it good. Let me come back up here. So some of you may be watching and not be aware that I started a website called SaveYourBooks.com that you can learn from me on my website. And I'm actually just about to launch some certificate courses for book repair. I'm working behind the scenes right now, doing a lot of things to make sure that can actually happen. There will be live Zoom calls with me, and that's coming right up. I just have to get all the pieces in place for it to happen. If you want to know more about that, be sure to join the newsletter at the Save Your Books website. You will find out there, or keep coming back here, because I'm going to not shut up about it as soon as I actually get it done. But yeah, there's going to be a beginning book repair certificate course for people. It'll be a 3-month course. My very first time doing it, it's going to be a beta version, and it'll be the cheapest it'll ever be. So if you want to come help me get the bugs out of it, it should be fun. All right, let's see. So there's that. Yeah, and there are just a lot of free foundational courses to take on the site. You don't have to pay anything to learn a little bit. Actually, there's a lot of free courses. Yeah, so feel free to do that. All right, I'm gonna go back, hands down again. And I'm literally just gluing this and sticking it on. And if you had a spine that you only had a piece of, you only had like half of it or something, before, but it was attached, you would make sure you made a little template so that you would know where to put it on the spine. So just, this is a whole thing. I don't have to worry about that. Just saying, that's something, a nicety. Oh, and if this is too slick, this actually has some tooth to it, but if this were too slick, I would scratch it up a little using something like a little serrated edge knife, gently. You could scrape it up with, you know, something like this, just to make some little marks, just to give it a little texture. You don't want to damage it, but I feel like there's enough of a toothy surface that it'll be fine. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you for wishes of success. I appreciate that. I've already got 2 people who want to take it signed up. I'm going to have a limit of, I think it's going to be a limit of 10 people for the first one. Okay, yep, just the light layer. It's nice to leave it a 1/16 of an inch short from the top and the bottom. I'm actually standing up now just to get over it and make sure it's lined up. Pretty good. All right, and then this is, because it's in a delicate state, in order to rub it down more thoroughly, you have to cover it up and make sure it's not moving, because you want to get it rubbed down from the inside to the outsides. And because I already secured it to that piece of Japanese tissue, the spine, I'm not so worried about it. If I hadn't have done that, it could have you know, moved around when you're rubbing it down, which is really scary. So yeah, make sure that your original spine piece is well supported before you put it back in. Oh yeah. Hi, Kevin. You actually, you don't, it's not like bookbinding. You actually don't need that many tools. I mean, what costs a lot of money? Yeah, so a press, let's come back up here. Hi. Yeah, so, I mean, I've never had a shortage of work. I have never been like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't have any work to do. Sometimes you wind up taking a job that's, you know, not as much fun, or not as, you have to charge less to get it to go out the door, something like that. But really, I mean, once you get really good at this, you can charge quite a bit, because you know what you're doing and you're working with expensive books that you don't want to ruin. And so there's skill to be paid for that. But I had an apprentice once. I had him come in, and he would work on the less expensive books with me. I'm like standing right across from him going, here, do this next, do this next, do this next. And he was earning half of what I was doing this stuff. And he went from making probably $10 an hour to $25 an hour at the end. And that was, like after a year, he was really moving through the things, because some of the steps are, it's the same thing. You have to case in a book pretty much the same way. You just have to keep things in mind. It's the worst part about taking on a job like this, doing this job, is that things come up and you don't know what to do. And I mean, you could always consult with me and I could help you with that. But yeah. So, and you don't need the giant board shear. I mean, getting one of these, yeah, you can. I mean, I bought that for $50 a while ago, but you can find them. You may or may not, want to get a press like this. This is a couple $100. So this is, that's a very useful thing to have. But you can make those. You can make those. My husband made one of those for me a while ago. So there are oh yeah, there's a book. Do I have it? Yeah. I think it's this one. I think it's this book. Actually has pictures of like how to make simple tools. Oh. Well, I'm not seeing it popping out right now, but there is a book. Yeah, is there a big call for this skill? It depends. The clients are, the bread and butter is cookbooks and Bibles. And if you can get those to where you're doing them quickly in kind of a bindery mode, a lot of rebinding for Bibles especially, they just need to be rebound because they're made with poor quality material, many of them. And with cookbooks, it's pretty straightforward, repairs, restorations like this, but anyway, I could go on and on. If you want to know more about how book restoration fits into the world of books, I wrote this book, Book Restoration Unveiled, and it is, it's really just full of a lot of information and from other people as well. Anyway, I gotta go. This is it. I'll put some pictures up on Instagram for this as well, but it's in. It's a whole book now. It's still damp, so I have to leave these in. But for now, Emily of New Moon is complete. On to the next one. Thanks for watching.